Hey everyone, Johnny Skywatcher here. So let's talk about Batwoman. I can't even say it seriously. Batwoman Season 2, Episode 2. So for some reason, I don't know, maybe I just hate myself. I decided to watch the second episode of the second season of Batwoman. And yeah, it was not good. So, first of all, I'm not going to bother giving my reaction with non-spoilers because who even cares at this point? I mean, does anybody honestly watch this show that would be like, I don't want to be spoiled on Batwoman? I don't think so. I really, I'm very doubtful anybody cares. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? This episode opens up with Alice, who is quickly becoming one of my least favorite characters on the show. And I guess, she's hanging out in the sewers with her dead friend, who I, other than the fact that she poisoned him, I don't really know anything about it since it was all in season one. And then she decides she grabs a rat and she duct tapes it to the dead body. And this is right after she has a very short flashback where I'm going to assume this is a flashback to a scene in season one. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Where she's irritated because there's bats fly around, and the guy, I think it's the dead guy back when he was alive, says that bats eat rats, Alice. So I guess the whole point in this scene is, and it becomes clearer later in the episode, is that Alice poisoned this guy for some reason. From what I've read, I don't think there was even really a good reason for why she poisoned him, other than to show she's crazy. She does crazy things. So, that's a characterization right there. So she poisoned him, and then she takes a mouse and she duct tapes it to him so that the bats will come and which, for some reason, the bats suddenly just, after a few seconds, are just swarming over one rat. I don't know why. And I guess they bite the dead body because the rat is there. It doesn't make any sense. And I actually Googled it because I was wondering, do bats actually eat rats at all? And apparently, a small percentage of bat species do eat rats. I couldn't really find any definitive information about what kind of species, because I have to wonder, those were just normal small bats. I don't know if they'd be eating rats. I would think that the species of bats that eat rats would be bigger, but I could be wrong. I don't know. There was no sort of easy Googleable information on that. So, and I didn't feel like doing a deep dive in research to try to figure that out. And then we go from that scene to another flashback of Batwoman. This is the Ryan Wilder character, who at first I got very confused because it doesn't really give you that much information about it being a flashback or anything. So I just thought I confused a normal character for her being her, and I thought I was just being, a little racist. No, it turns out it was Ryan Wilder, but in the past. And then a stunt woman shows up as Batwoman. Obviously not Ruby Rose, because she will almost certainly never be seen on this show again. Apparently, in the past, on Halloween, she got attacked by these, muggers, and was saved by Batwoman. Now, this is weird because from the first episode, when she was researching Kate Kane, it would seem more like she was not that familiar with Batwoman or Kate Kane. So to have it to the point that where she had already been rescued by Batwoman was kind of weird. And when I was watching it, I did not understand the purpose of that scene at all. It's really only until the very ending where they kind of bring it around and they have some sort of reason. It's not a very good reason, but yeah, I guess they do have some kind of reason behind it. It's dumb, but it's it's there. Oh, it does have an actual flashback 2 months ago. I totally missed that. I did not see that at all. Okay. What else happens in my notes? Ryan Wilder tries to get a job, and it does not go very well because she's an ex-con, and pretty much the same sort of scene as the first one with the first episode with the social worker. Nothing really different about this. And then it moves on. The I guess the Crows, which are a private security firm, whatever. Like I said, I didn't watch season 1. For some reason, it seems like all of Gotham policing is done through the Crows, I guess. Seems really stupid, but okay. Let's just go with it. And they are interrogating Luke and what's her face? This girl. I gotta look it up really quickly. I want to say in my notes I just wrote Asian girl, but I know she does have a name, and it is Mary Hamilton. Okay. And so that is a thing that they get interrogated because I guess everybody knows that Kate Kane is Batwoman now. I must have missed something in episode 1 because I don't really remember if that became public knowledge or not, but I guess that's the case now. Everybody, or at least everybody in the Crows knows that Kate Kane was Batwoman. Well, I guess the main guy found out, right? The father. So maybe he told everyone who's under him. Who knows? It seems like a sort of bad writing decision right there. You totally gave up any dramatic tension of having the father know that Kate Kane was Batwoman, and maybe he would have to keep that secret or something. No, just everybody knows now. So nothing interesting happens in that scene. Then Ryan Wilder tries to stop a robbery and does a terrible job, of course, which really only goes further to prove that the Batwoman suit is magic, and that's what gives her the power to stop crime or fight crime is the suit. Because obviously when she's not wearing the suit, she is not able to fight crime at all. The other part that I found really dumb is so she's in this store and she picks up a bottle of ibuprofen, and then she says, "Do you have this in generic?" Correct me if I'm wrong, but ibuprofen is the generic, right? Or are you saying ibuprofen is a brand in the DC universe? Am I misunderstanding something? I mean, the brand, like the brand you would normally get is Advil, right? And that's ibuprofen. But you could also get like a generic kind that just says ibuprofen. Why would you have her say that then? I'm going to assume maybe she'd even like when she said it in the scene. I would be nice to the actress and assume she probably even know she was holding what she was holding. Maybe they didn't even have that shot, or maybe they say, "Oh, we'll change it with something else. It's okay. We'll create a brand or something. Digitally replace it." Maybe they just forgot. It wouldn't surprise me with the quality of writing that they would just forget something like that. Anyway, that more evidence that the Batwoman suit is just some sort of magical suit that gives people superpowers. Then, after failing to stop the robbery, I guess maybe the guy dies. I don't know. She gets taken in by the police, and apparently because not only are the Crows running all of the police in Gotham City, they also are very understaffed. This character, well, I don't think I even mentioned for the last episode. So this is the ex-girlfriend, and she works for the Crows, and apparently does all the police work in Gotham City, or at least half, probably half, because there is another girl, another lesbian character who I think was maybe Batwoman's current girlfriend at the end of season 1. I don't know. She's a blonde girl. I don't. I think that's what the relationship was. Like I said, I didn't see season 1. So apparently, they're the only ones who do all the police work. So of course, when Brian Wilder gets taken in for us, because they thought she did the robbery, this character who I just wrote in my notes as Bat ex-girlfriend, she interrogates her, of course, because we needed to have a scene between the two. And it really strikes me as there are several scenes in this that's just a really bad writing, where like the writers really tried hard to put scenes together with characters where they didn't really belong together, but they really wanted to have scenes together with those characters, and they didn't know any other way to do that. So that's what they did, and so then you get this scene with like the two of them talking, where basically it's another scene for Ryan Wilder to complain about how she's been victimized by the system, and all of that. And yeah, so that was boring. And then in the next scene, okay, I actually totally misunderstood what was happening, or at least where this was happening. So I guess the Asian girl, who I gotta look up the name again, something Hamilton, Mary Hamilton. I will remember it one of these days. She runs some sort of clinic or something, some sort of underground clinic for the homeless. While I was watching this and while I was writing my notes, I thought this was a morgue because that's what it looks like. And stupidly to me, it just made more sense to me if one of Batwoman's allies maybe worked in a morgue or something like that. So, if she's investigating a case, she could find a dead body. No, that would probably be too much of a big brain thinking for the writers of this show. So I guess she works some sort of underground clinic in which nobody else is ever there. There's like only one person later when they bring in a dead body, which, why? This scene is really only there so that later some guy can come in and bring in the dead body that of Mouse, I guess his character is called, that Alice taped the rat to at the beginning of the episode. So that, I guess they just got some body out of the sewers and didn't even bother to check that it was dead, which it's got to be like over a day or so it's got to be smelled really badly. The moment it's uncovered, Ryan Wilder reacts to the smell. So like, why did they bring it to this some sort of underground clinic? I don't understand. And that's why I thought it was a morgue to begin with. So that was just dumb thing going on. Also, in this scene, Ryan somehow just logically figures out that Alice is Kate Kane's sister just by working it out logically. Kind of dumb. I guess they didn't want to spend any time with her not knowing that. Don't want to have any dramatic potential there. No, we just got to get to where we were in season 1, at least somewhat, with the characters knowing. So it's just getting Ryan Wilder up to speed in the least interesting way possible. So Alice continues to be one of the most annoying characters on the show, as she suddenly shows up and talks to, this is the other lesbian character who I think was Batwoman's girlfriend at the end of season 1, who I in my notes called Bat GF or Bat Girlfriend. So she has a conversation with her, mostly pretty boring. I kind of blanked out a little bit. They talk some about this new villain who was teased at the end of not season 1, who was teased at the end of episode 1. Other than that, this is really boring. Ryan Wilder, I have it written in my notes. She's because inexplicably, one of the bats was inside the body, and just climbs out and flies around. And Ryan Wilder says, "I really hate bats." Of course, she's got to have an opinion on bats because she's Batwoman, so it's got to be the same thing as Batman. She doesn't like bats, so it just felt like dumb writing. Like, I don't even have anything else to say about that. It's just really. So this show really wishes it had a crowd like this to show up and that would be supporting the show, because I feel like that's the writers' wishful thinking showing up in the episode. So you have this crowd showing up in support of Batwoman, demanding for Batwoman, even though she's disappeared. Who are they protesting to then? Are they protesting in support of Batwoman, I guess? But like, what do they think? What do they think the police are going to do, or anybody else? Do they think she's like been kidnapped by somebody who protests? Do they think that the police have her? I guess maybe they kind of tie it back to an earlier episode in season 1 where I guess there was a confrontation with the crows and they were shooting at her. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. It just, to me, it seems like just wishful thinking on the part of the writers that people would actually care about Batwoman that much. In general, I got to talk about the writing of the character of Ryan Wilder in this episode. Seems very inconsistent with episode 1. So in episode 1, she finds the suit, and then when she's confronted by Luke and Mary, if that's her name, let me check. Yeah. When she's confronted by Luke and Mary, she says that she's going to keep the suit until, she's done using it. Which, basically, until she finishes avenging her mother's death. And then in this episode, she's just asking if, could I, use this episode to try to save all these people? Went from episode 1 where she's saying, I'm keeping the suit, to episode 2 where she's like, do you mind if I take the suit out and, kind of do something, So it just seemed very inconsistent to me. And also, I think I heard about this when the show was in production, that they were doing an episode with bats carrying disease. Well, it wasn't really a disease, it's a poison. Okay, writers in quarantine. I see what you were thinking of. Not much originality there. Yeah, the writers were in quarantine, and everything with that going on, and the story about the bats. So they wrote a story about bats carrying a poison. It's not a disease; it's a poison this time, and the bats are dangerous. Okay. Nothing really else to say about that. Their big plan is that since the crowd is asking for Batwoman, she's going to show up as Batwoman. Ryan Wilder is, and just hope that people are satisfied and then go home. They also try to lampshade this with Luke pointing out the fact that she's black. They kind of notice that this isn't really the same Batwoman. And she says, no, it's okay. I'll just, stand far back. They won't notice. It's dark. Okay. And the stupidest part is, so she goes up on this tall building, so they aren't able to see that she's not the same Batwoman, right? And I guess because nobody has, like, cameras or any way to zoom in on her, there's only like a news crew down there, but such technology doesn't exist to be able to like zoom in on someone from far away, especially when she apparently has good enough lighting that they could tell that that's supposed to be Batwoman to begin with. But no, she's standing up there, and then she yells at them to, everything's okay, you can go home now. And nobody listens. And I wrote down in my notes, at least the show doesn't even try to pretend that a crowd, like way down, like from a building that is cheering and everything, would be able to hear anything she's saying. Or at least that's the way it came off across when I was watching it. So, yeah, not a great plan. I don't know what else they were thinking was going to happen. And then, of course, Alice shows up because she's one of those very annoying characters that, like, whenever the show doesn't know what to do, they just say, oh, what if Alice showed up and then, tried to kill someone or threatened someone or stabbed someone? Because that's so interesting. And, okay, the thing I gotta say about Alice, because it really, really bugs me, is Alice is so badly played because she is pretending to be crazy all the time. And the thing about, like, let's compare Alice to past portrayals of the Joker, because at this point she's just a female version of the Joker that's not played very well because she's trying to be crazy all the time. That's what the actress is doing. And to be fair to the actress, that's probably what they're asking for, They're asking for her to, act like she's crazy. And that's not how mentally imbalanced people act. They don't specifically act crazy. Because I remember being in an acting class and hearing that note of, you can't act crazy. If you act crazy, it doesn't come off as a crazy person. It just comes off as this really fake acting. You need to more act the symptoms. Not that, oh, I'm a crazy person, but like think about the symptoms of a person who is mentally unbalanced. Are they saying things? How does that affect them? Are they having repetitive thoughts? Or they're doing things? Not that I'm acting like a crazy person. Whoa. It's so bad. And I honestly, I don't see how anybody could look at this performance and say, oh, this is the best character or the best acting in the show. What? And I've actually seen people say that online. Yeah, this Alice is the worst character on the show. After that little tangent, let's just move on. Alice activates a signal which causes the bats to attack the crowd. And then, they people get bitten. And something that really where I started to wonder what the heck is going on. They bring one of the people that got bit to the lab area, or the underground clinic, I guess, which I thought was like the hospital or morgue. Oh, look, and I think it's the same guy from earlier. So apparently there's like nobody who works there except for Mary Hamilton, and I guess you just have like maybe that one orderly guy who brings people in, and I think I see somebody else there. But for the most part, no, it's just one person because this is CW. We can't afford extras. and then who else is there? Just earlier, Batwoman was fighting Alice on the roof of whatever place, and then who shows up after when this just conveniently around the same time as this body. She must have snuck in magically, or as I suspect now, is Alice is obviously a teleporter of some kind. She's obviously a meta. She's able to teleport. That's how she's able to get all these places, which would be infinitely more interesting than the current version of the character. So Alice, of course, just magically teleports to the same little clinic. How does she know about it? I don't know. Maybe she already knew about it. And so she decides to give Mary some of her blood. So apparently, back in season 1, Mary also had been poisoned by this thing, that the same poison and had been given an antidote, and then apparently Alice secretly took some of her blood, which still has the antidote, and then decided to give her the blood so that she could make new antidotes from what was in the blood, I guess. So that's how they save the day. Mary then goes and takes the blood to this other company, which I don't even remember the name of, and they are able to synthesize antidotes. That part of the plot was resolved, and the way they resolved the thing with the bats. So Ryan Wilder is able to find the source that was calling the bats. She is this sort of sonic thing going off, and she grabs it, and then she takes off with it in the back car because I don't know. Well, it kind of makes sense if she just destroys it. There's still bats flying all around. Of course, you would think that the device is what's causing the bats to go crazy in the first place. So maybe if she stopped the signal, the bats would just fly away. But plot. We have to have stuff happen. So she drives away, and they're having trouble finding something. She happens to see what I guess is like a prison bus, like a crow prison bus or something. And so she basically, this is just driving around, and then of course she stops it, and she threatens the driver, who apparently is the only person there. You're just driving the bus around at night, normal stuff. And then she uses the signal to lure the bats into the bus, and then she closes the door, and then she blows up the bats. How heroic. And then, of course, while she's blowing it up, she sees this homeless girl, and she has to block them from the explosion with the bat cape. And she doesn't start making out with the girl, but I feel like it was, a couple steps away from that. Apparently, it's just there so that the woman can call her Batwoman. She said, I'm not Batwoman. She said, well, you are to me. Okay. So they have a conversation in the back cave, and Luke decides to give in to Ryan and Mary and let Ryan wear the suit. And then Ryan finds Kate Kane's journals, where she'd been writing letters to Bruce Wayne, and she decides to take up that tradition because this show can't come up with anything new. I honestly, why would you create a new character like this and not recast if you're just going to have to try to plug them into the same life and have them do everything the same way? So she decides to write letters to Kate now that Kate is gone. Okay. And then in the final scene of the show, Batwoman's ex-girlfriend shows up and confronts Alice. But then someone else shows up and I guess saves Alice, and she works for this other villain who is probably responsible for Kate Kane's plane going down. I don't even remember the name. But yeah, that's a thing that's happening in the show. No real interest so far. And that was pretty much the end of the episode. So yeah, that was Batwoman Season 2, Episode 2, Prior Criminal History. The next episode is Batgirl Magic. So yeah, that sounds super unexciting. And the one thing this show could do to be more interesting is bring in some new characters or villains or something, but no, they pretty much, seems like they're going to stick to just Alice for the most part, which they did in Season 1, and then this new villain, who is of course another woman, because this series does not want to introduce any male characters at all. I'm somewhat convinced. At least from what I can tell of the first 2 episodes, it seems like the show is pretty set on only having female characters, and it is also pretty set on inserting Ryan Wilder into Kate Kane's place and having her do everything, to the point where I'm not going to be surprised if Ryan Wilder ends up with either the Bat ex-girlfriend or what was the current girlfriend, the blonde girl. She's obviously going to end up with one of them because, she's the new Kate Kane. And then obviously she's going to have some interaction with the head cop guy, and probably he'll adopt her because we're just inserting her into the character's life. So even though it's a new character and we're doing new stories, but no, we're not. Why didn't they recast again? Who knows? Because Ruby Rose's portrayal was so iconic. There's no way they could recast it. You have Black Panther up here, but then you have Ruby Rose as Kate Kane. Pretty much the same, right? Everybody was just blown away by how great she was in that role, that there was just no way they could replace her. I think that pretty much brings it into this episode. So let me know if you watched the episode in the comments below. Do you think I'm being too harsh on it? I feel like I'm being pretty nice for the most part. It's a really bad show. Come on. And if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. I will see you in the next video. Bye.